Welcome everyone, Marcelo is my name. Awesome to have your company. I love all things creative. Any form of creativity, I just thoroughly enjoy, whether it's films or paintings or perfumery. I love that any type of art form has an entry-level component and then it goes all the way to the avant-garde. Take movies for instance. You could have a very straightforward movie, boy meets girl, and you've probably seen these. The storyline remains the same, transplant the actors, and you've got yourself a brand new film, all the way to this completely avant-garde where you literally, at the end of the film, you're like, I don't know what just happened. You know, shot of a brick wall and 15 minutes of a brick wall, and all of a sudden it cuts to a woman. My love for you is like winter, always cold. I made that up, but I'm going to make a movie out of that, I'm sure. And then I love creators who subvert the normal. Take David Lynch, for instance, where a lot of his films start with a classic narrative that you understand. Wild at heart, the core of the story is The Wizard of Oz, but yet told in such a crazy way. Then there's the movie Blue Velvet, classic boy meets girl setup. However, for those who've seen it, you realize this is a whole new way of telling that particular storyline. This is what I love about ephemeral dyadic. What you see, so you know that it's going to be a perfume, an olfactory experience, but the outcome is completely different to what you anticipate. I created an early episode on ephemeral dyadic if you want to know a little bit more about who they are, where they're from. Istanbul, by the way, completely unique, not what you expect. Then have a look at this particular episode. I cover two of their fragrances that I really love, and if you want to come into the brand, this is a great place to begin. Let me begin the journey with this incredible fragrance here called Another World. Notes are black ink, pepper, fir, cedarwood, and musk. Okay, scratch that. This is not what you're getting. Well, this is not what I'm getting when I experience this fragrance. In fact, when it opens up, I get this vanilla cake-like quality to it. It then migrates to this woody element and then finally with a very musky base. This is something that I did not expect. The fragrance is a wild ride. If you look at the notes, you get totally fooled by what you think you're about to expect. Interestingly, it has a note of black ink. Now, I've become a somewhat obsessed person when it comes to all things fountain pens. I'm a collector. Collect many things, and of late I've been really enjoying collecting fountain pens, and recently I bought one of these where actually you put the ink inside the actual pen itself. Now I'm not going to open it because I opened it before and I got ink everywhere. I was being so careful, but somehow the ink literally went everywhere. What does black ink smell like? I tried to smell the ink in the bottle, and in truth I wasn't really detecting anything. All I could pick up was a slight mineralic tone. Wasn't much else. Now that black ink note is a fantasy note, and so in fact I have a feeling that the perfumer Sinan, who's, by the way, he is self-taught. He's a creative artist who loves to express himself in paint and other formats, and in this case here he's taught himself how to create perfumes. So that black ink note is purely constructed, and it can be anything that he wants it to be. For me, it has a vanilla touch to it. There is a slight mineralic component in there, but it has a very cake-like vanilla touch to it. There's an incredible fragrance by Naso Mato called Sado Naso. I feel that Another World has similarities to this because of its musk component in there. Sado Naso walks this delicate line between being both repulsive and attracting. There is a musk in there that some people find super offensive and others go, oh my gosh, where have you been all my life? The musk in Another World is similar to Sado Naso. That cake-like vanilla quality, there is that touch of animalic, but no repulsion. There isn't that extra note that's in there that makes it that extra bit sassy where you think, oof, you know, what in the world are you wearing? This is an incredible fragrance that plays really well in winter, but also plays exceptionally well in summer. The fragrance states that it has cedar wood and also has fir in its construct. Those particular wood notes, those aromatic wood notes, begin to come out more when the weather is bright and sunny, as opposed to in winter and cool weather like it is today, where the musks are definitely taking more place. I was wearing it the other day. Maddie, my daughter, I got her to smell and she's like, oh, I love this fragrance. She goes, I can smell this vanilla, this sweetness in there. Again, there's no vanilla. There's nothing in there that denotes that there's any sweetness. Have a look at this video that I created here alongside Maddie. She also smelled it again. Her response, now we were in a summer landscape, and her response was, wow, that's a beautifully bright, sunny fragrance. Same fragrance, but now, because of the weather, it expressed itself in two different ways. I love the evolution of this fragrance. It starts off with this beautiful musky vanilla. It then migrates to a dry blonde wood place. Think guaiac wood, sandalwood, those kinds. Finally, when it dries down, it's a sweet woody musk. It is spectacular. And as I said, on that dry down, in winter it's one expression, in summer it's something completely different. The one thing that I do know is consistent, no matter what time of season, is don't overspray. I made the mistake very early on to exceed my 3. I sprayed, I couldn't quite detect it, so I gave myself 2 more. I was dying. It was, the musk tones in there were, it was pretty heavy. Plus it was quite warm, and I felt I was drowning in the sea of this woody, musky fragrance. I find that 3 sprays is more than enough to last me throughout the day, and I'm comfortably getting between 8 to 10 hours on Another World. All right, let me switch. Bodhi and Utah. The perfumer Sinan is a massive movie buff, and I heard a comment that he took the inspiration to this fragrance from the movie Point Break with Keanu and Patrick Swayze. And it's actually, on the box itself, there is a full dialogue of the exchange between the 2 characters just at the moment that they're about to do a bank robbery. Patrick Swayze knows that Keanu Reeves is an FBI agent. I just destroyed that film for anyone who hasn't watched it yet. So when I first sprayed, I'm like, what? This is kind of familiar. Smelled again. It's kind of cliche. Now, the word cliche in creativity is almost like a slap across the face. I know that when someone says to me, oh, that seems a little bit cliche of what you just did, it hurts my soul a little bit, especially if I'm trying to be original. However, cliche can work to our favor. Take the movie again, Blue Velvet. The opening is super cliche. This small country town, man's mowing the lawn, sunshine, sunshine. Then the camera pans down and sees an ear, a cut-off ear in the grass. Again, spoiler alert if you haven't seen the film. So it plays on the cliche of something we understand, but then subverts it and goes in a completely different direction. The same thing has happened here with Bodhi and Utah. It starts off in a very familiar place, sparkling blue. You've smelt this before. It's a beautiful aquatic light blue fragrance. It then moves across as it begins to dry down to this mineralic green, a green fragrance with green notes coming through, almost minty-like. Finally, it settles to this wonderful herbal-like aquatic fragrance with some mineralic tones in there. It is super surprising, super unique, and so unusual for the way that the fragrance begins. Those opening notes of sage and cardamom brings a familiarity to the actual perfume. It gives you that quick summertime, beachside, super inviting, brings you into it. It is then, I feel that the iris, which gives it a very green component, and then this blue amber accord mixed in with incense. It's interesting that there is a blue amber accord. Again, another constructed note, another fantasy note. This then gives us this other edge, this spiciness, this woodiness that's in the fragrance. I go back to the beginning, and that is the beautiful joy of niche perfumery and the ability to be artistic and creative. Where the perfumer now takes you on a story, takes you on an actual journey, says, let's begin here, something that you're very familiar with, blue ocean, just very pretty, almost cliche. And then we start to move in a different direction. We're now on a boat traveling through. It's still sunny, but now we're getting other tones. And then finally, we're in a location that we've never seen before. Large stone walls and this fortress behind it. These are the images that I get when I smell this. I was experiencing this fragrance, and it took me to a place, and I was seeing like a walled fortress. I was seeing being on the ocean. It was sparkling and it was blue. In 2018, I had an opportunity to go to Dubrovnik. It was by chance. We were in the Dubrovnik port. There were all these boats there. A gentleman came up to me and said, hey, would you like me to take you to these islands and we'll do the things? It was a gorgeous day. It's a sunny, spectacular day. On our journey, the captain stopped in a particular spot. There was a lot of other boats within this region, and he said, would you like to experience the Blue Cave? I'm like, I'm up for anything. He says, all you got to do, swim across, go underneath, and come back up, and you'll experience something that you've never seen before. So I'm not the best swimmer in the world, but I thought, when am I next going to do this? So off I went. I feel that Bodhi in Utah is capturing this very experience. After I went under the water and came back up, the cave itself seemed to have like, I don't know, some kind of minerals or something was shining in there. The light that was reflecting through the opening of the cave underneath made the whole cave, this whole space light blue and shimmering. When I experience Bodhi in Utah, it takes me to this very location. It takes me to Dubrovnik, it takes me on this boat ride, and it takes me to the Blue Cave. Another fragrance that has awesome performance, high to moderate when it comes to both its projection and sillage, and it seems to stick on skin. I get a comfortable 10 to 12 hours without a problem. I've worn it as a beach fragrance. I've gone into the water, I've come out, I've dried, I've gone back into the water, I've come out and taken some sun. I can still smell the fragrance. I've gone home, get ready to have a shower, I can still smell the fragrance. So it's one of those that seems to linger beautifully in warm, summery weather. So there you have it, 2 incredible fragrances from Ephemeral Dyadic, both a massive recommendation. If you are deeper now into niche perfumery, I would strongly recommend these to you. If you're brand new, I would start with one called Missing Feelings. That one there, for me, is a knockout of the park. Incredible, musky fragrance that just is glorious. Really, really impressive. Hope you enjoyed that. I look forward to your comments. We'll see you guys all on the next episode.